pilots.
Can you fly this plane and land it?
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and it's time for my next comic book review. Today we're reviewing The Next Batman, the feature title in the new Future State that's going to be out through January, February, all leading into Infinite Frontier. Obviously, these are kind of Elseworlds, but not really. So specifically in this comic book, we know that, within the pages of Detective Comics, before they kind of shut down for this mini event, they're leading towards this. The magistrate's about to happen. Mayor Nakano is about to be elected, and Gotham is about to be taken over by a fascist regime. Now, I wasn't particularly excited about this comic book, especially after reading the other history of the DC universe by John Ridley, the writer of this comic book, The Next Batman. But I must say, I came away quite impressed. And my biggest objection with the entire comic book was, it's an $8, like 60-page, maybe a little bit more than that comic book. And The Next Batman's only like 20 pages of it. It's only a third, like the other backup stories, which are far inferior, in my opinion. They take up way too much of the real estate in this book. I wanted more of The Next Batman. It's really an interesting introduction to the new Gotham, the new status quo in Gotham, the new Batman as he starts to patrol the streets of Gotham. And I must say, I really enjoyed it. I'm going to recommend it. I'm not going to give it a highly recommend because it is an $8 comic with like 20 pages worth reading. The bang for your buck just isn't there. Although the art in one of the backup stories, actually in both the backup stories, is really good, but the stories just aren't compelling like this one. Now, before I get into the details of The Next Batman, why I am kind of high on it now, and I think what John really does here is actually quite solid. I will say, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoy this video. Give me a thumbs down if you don't. Either way, I want to hear your thoughts on Future State's The Next Batman. Were you as engaged with the story as I am? Are you looking forward to see what Tim? Well, don't call him Tim. Jace Fox as the next Batman is going to be doing, and some of the new plot threads going through. So I hope you are as excited as I am, because I came away pretty impressed. There are other titles that are better. There's going to be a video tomorrow where I cover all of them, but this isn't half bad. Now, the opening of it is quite good. We get Batman. We're getting the new status quo. If you have a mask and the magistrate peacekeepers come upon you, it's sight on sight. There are no questions asked. You get shot. And there seems to be two kind of competing factions. You got the peacekeepers, and you got the GCPD. And if you're a mask, whether you're a hero or a villain, you don't want to run into the peacekeepers because they are going to kill you. Now, one of the interesting things about this, and I love the art from Nick Derrington. I just want to put that out there right now. It feels like classic Batman. It feels like this is a Batman story. I mean, it looks like it. But if you look at the covers associated with the Batman titles in Future State, it makes it look like Gotham is going to be kind of this cyberpunk version of Gotham. We don't really get that in the art here. This is like classic Batman. Of course, they do use some of the color palette that you do see on the covers, but it's not exactly what I expected to see from the interiors. Don't think it's not really disappointing, but it does. What do you have a cover like that for? If this is, the cover should kind of let you know the art that you're getting inside. If you look at the cover on The Next Batman, then you see the interiors, they don't add up whatsoever. But the interior art is absolutely fantastic. I think Nick Derrington absolutely knocks this out of the park. There's a couple of instances where there's some like scale back shots and like characters don't have noses and stuff. And you're like, you probably could have just thrown a little nose on that guy. But other than that, I think everything works out really well. I really love this shot here on the left where Batman's kind of hiding this perpetrator that was wearing a mask. He's a bad guy, and we find out he's a rapist, but Batman's trying to save him from the peacekeeper. He's kind of blocking him, and you got this spotlight on him. So great shot, just a Batman shot. Now, I really like the introduction. It is a new Batman. This feels like it's probably his first or second night really in Gotham patrolling the streets. And it's a good introduction to the story. Now, there is like a main story to this that takes place, but there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that John Ridley is introducing throughout that it doesn't feel like he's going to be able to accomplish in 80 pages, which is going to be the 4 issues of the next Batman. I imagine it's 20 pages for the main story in each. And I am almost 100% certain we're going to get a mini-series or maybe an ongoing of this new Batman, probably announced like this month for the April or maybe the next month for the May solicitations. I imagine there's no way this is stopping because he's introducing a lot of stuff. Now, this is the main story. There's a gang called the Bane-litos, just silly enough to be, comic book stupid and fun, and they're recruiting these 2 young brothers, and they're you've got blood in, and so they're going to have to go and put a hit out on somebody and go murder somebody for the gang so they can get some protection. Of course, once they put on the mask, they are at the mercy or no mercy of the peacekeepers, and that's what brings Batman into the fold. There's some really good action scenes. It's a fun main story. That's obviously it kind of gets to the end. Batman does the right thing. He saves the kids, and he lets them know, I'm not turning you into the police. I'm turning you into child protective services, and they can do what they want. So that was quite enjoyable. It was a Batman story, and I liked it a lot. And you get classic Batman pose. Like I said, the art is cool when he's coming down on this getaway car that they're driving. Just looks great. Classic Batman. Kind of disappointed Nick Derrington's not on the next Batman or not on one of the Batman titles, but hopefully he's on this miniseries. There's going to be a miniseries. Hopefully it's got the same artist because it's really strong. Now, a lot of what's going on where he's setting up seeds for future stories, or I imagine some of this is going to be dealt with within this the next Batman 4-part series within Future State. There's a lot of conflict going within the Fox family, and after reading this, I don't think that we're supposed to know that Tim, or Jace Fox, as he wants to be known now, is the next Batman. It's heavily implied that it's actually Luke Fox. You get a lot of point of view from him. You get very little point of view from actual Jace Fox himself. But there's some interesting stuff here. Another thing that's kind of going on behind the scenes, besides just what is the magistrate, how do they come into power, kind of how does all that work, is what's going on with Bruce Wayne? Where did he go? What happened to him? And why does Luke and Jace Fox's mother, the wife of Lucius Fox, hate him so badly? And it turns out she's kind of protecting the peacekeepers, the magistrate in Gotham, like from the outside. Like there's complaints from the ACLU about what they're doing, and she's trying to like legally stand up to him and make sure that they keep the outsiders out, so the magistrate and the peacekeepers can keep doing what they're doing in Gotham. Obviously, Luke Fox is opposed to that. And then when we finally see Luke and Jace Fox in the hospital, it turns out their sister, I believe her name is Tam, she had an overdose. Luke goes to visit his sister. There's Jace having a conversation with her. But apparently, he skipped out. He went to some military academy years ago. I think he got kicked out, but he never came back. And he's finally back in town. And, makes sense with it. It really feels like the next Batman is very early on in his mission. And there is a lot of conflict from between those two. They do not get along at all. And he's like, you need to hit the bricks, son. You need to get the hell out of here. So that is like one of the big things that's kind of going on behind the scenes, is what's going on with this Fox family and why are they so dysfunctional? And like I said, I don't think we were supposed to know that Jace Fox is the new Batman. And then another thing that's going on is there's these 2 cops. This female cop, I believe her name is Chubb. The male cop, his name's Whitaker, and he's no longer on the force. It sounds like he quit, but he might have been fired. And she kind of comes up on him as he's at the batting cage, getting working some steam off. And she's like, hey, there's a rumor that there's a cop out there that he's assisting villains to basically do capers, And if once you get your loot, you have to leave, and that's the deal. And it's heavily implied that she thinks it's him that's doing it. This was the introduction. This is basically what you get. You do get this character Whitaker at the very end. Something happens to him. Not really sure. That was really ambiguous. That's like the last page, the cliffhanger. But this is another one of the plot threads that's being like sewed in there that you can see is more long term. So it's it's kind of Fox family dysfunction. What the hell is a magistrate? How have they taken everything over? Where the hell is Bruce Wayne and what happened to him? Why does Luke and Jace Fox's mother hate him so bad? Why is she kind of working with the bad guys here? And what is going on with these two cops? Is that what he's doing? There's obviously some friction between the GCPD and the peacekeepers. I think that should be interesting. Overall, it was really enjoyable. You get the great introduction. The main story, it's a Batman story. It's fun. You see him, he goes and saves the day. But there's a lot of stuff kind of going on behind the scenes, and it's very enjoyable. Not the greatest, Batman story I've ever read, but certainly very intriguing. It's a great introduction. Nothing like what I got from the other history of the DC Universe, which I did not enjoy very much. This is, I guess John Ridley can really write comics if he wants to. So I was very impressed. There are a couple of backup stories in here. Now, the artist on the Outsider story, which is really a Katana story, is Sumit Kumar, one of the up-and-coming artists I'm really excited about. Don't know that this completely plays to his strengths, but it is well illustrated. Although I will say the design of Katana's new armor is silly. It reminded me of the Beetle guy from Kubo and the Three Strings. Remember him? If you saw that movie, he had the weird kind of armor. That's what it reminded me of. It was a little bit silly. That's the better story of the two backups, and the other one is the Astrid Arkham, the Arkham Knight character that was introduced by Peter J. Tomasi in Detective Comics. It was a good story arc. I think that was Brad Walker, when he kind of first came to prominence on Batman in Detective Comics. It was really great. The artist on this one, Jack Herbert, the art's really good. They should bring him back. He should be illustrating, some Batman stories and stuff like that. It's nice. But the story is kind of throwaway and boring. Not too much to it. $8 for 40 pages of this while you're wanting more of the 20-page story is a bit disappointing. But overall, I'm pleasantly surprised. This is a good introduction to the character. It's a solid comic book. The next Batman seems exciting. I want to see, I want to know, hey, what the hell's going on here? There's a lot of stuff that that John really sowed the seeds for. It's got a lot of potential in the future. I do not think for any second that this is ending at 4 issues of the next Batman 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is going to be like Wonder Woman from Joelle Jones. We're getting Wonder Girl. We're going to get a next Batman. I'm quite certain of it. There was recently an interview with John Ridley where he didn't confirm it, but he certainly hinted at it. And I think we're definitely going to see that. But I recommend this one. It's not the greatest Batman story of all time, but it's certainly a great introduction to a new Batman. We shall see what happens. Obviously, you could drop the ball in this one, but hey, as an introduction, this is what you want. And Future State was off to a good start. Now tomorrow, first thing in the morning, my early video will be a complete look at all of Future State that released this week, all 6 issues. There's a couple stinkers. There's a couple of really good comic books. Obviously, you hear my thoughts on the next Batman. So definitely tune into that one if you're interested in Future State. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you later.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.